Well, I just, because we were talking about this and you had mentioned this on Facebook and like I said, I graduated from a school for the blind and I did a camp there before I went to that school. So you talking about it on Facebook brought back all the wonderful memories of it and just having a blast. And so, I made that video talking about that experience and encouraging people that if you have the opportunity to go to a camp, an adult or a kid, definitely do it. You're not going to regret it. You're going to have a blast. Would you agree? It's definitely something people should do if they have the opportunity.
Yes, it's quite an intense experience.
Yeah.
But I think for those of us who are being visually impaired, we kind of have one foot in the blind world and one foot in the sighted world.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
And stepping fully into the blind world for a week is actually it's a really great experience.
Mm-hmm.
You forget about all of the issues that you have about being visually impaired because, well, they're just not there anymore.
Right.
You get to see how other blind and visually impaired people live and operate, and you pick up an awful lot of stuff. For those of us who are fairly new or just getting used to our diagnosis, so when you and this is one of the things they kept on talking about, is that you kind of go through all the stages of grief when you become visually impaired or blind, and quite a lot of the conversations that we had kind of helped me kind of think through how I went through all those stages of grief.
Yeah.
And maybe where I am right now. And it brought me to other realizations, that things like, it's not just getting accustomed to your blindness, it's also things like using assistive technologies. If you think about everything that we all did with assistive technologies, I don't need assistive technologies. They don't suit me. All this kind of stuff. All that. If you think about it, you're basically going through the same stages of grief about that too. And when I realized that things like, one of the things I've been learning the last 6 months is how to use a cane.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of still in the early stages of grief in that regard, if you see what I mean. I'm still what's the word I'm looking for here? I'm trying to remember what the early stages of grief are. What is it again? It's
it's denial.
Denial, that's right.
Yeah. Anger.
Bargaining, anger, depression, and acceptance. Not necessarily in that order.
Right.
So, when it comes to things like using things like VoiceOver on my phone or the Android equivalent, then I'm definitely in the denial phase.
Okay.
I probably should be using that kind of stuff, but I'm in the denial phase.
Yeah.
When it comes to using a cane, I'm probably still in the denial phase, even though I try and use it regularly and things like that. And you keep reverting to some of them. So like I revert on a semi-regular basis for a short period of time into the depression phase about my vision. And that's normal, but knowing now that that's how things are, then I feel better able to kind of intellectualize what is happening, and now I know that if I can recognize these stages, I can start thinking how to get through them, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it totally does.
The other thing that I realized when I was at camp as well, just by spending time with blind people, is that there is a whole aesthetic world out there, a whole world of beauty and stuff like that, which I totally am not getting because I didn't think about experiencing those things with smell, with touch,
Mm-hmm.
with stuff like that. So, like, there was one person said that they love to sit out in the rain because they can't see rain anymore and they can't see rainbows and stuff, but if they sit out in the rain, they can feel it.
Yeah, okay.
And so that's how they experience the beauty of rain. Somebody else said that they loved going outside first thing in the morning because they just loved that feeling of freshness and
Mm-hmm.
feeling the expanse of this big empty world. And that really filled them with stuff. There was another guy, we were talking about the 4th of July for some reason, and he said he loved fireworks,
Mm.
and I couldn't understand why he did, and then he said, but they sound fantastic, and then I realized that's how he experiences fireworks, is all the bangs and crashes, it's not the flashes and the colors.
Right.
So that's one of the things I came home with is there is a whole world of stuff out there which I'm missing out on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. I've talked in my videos about just going out in the morning, like you said, and around here in the neighborhood, there's a lot of birds. It's ridiculous how many birds there are in this neighborhood, especially springtime when they're all really active. And just going out there, and I do a lot of walking and in the mornings, and just listening to everything, and not really doing anything, just standing there listening, and you kind of take that for granted unless you do it. But once, like you said, unless you're around people that have to do that, you don't really think about it. And then when I went to the high school for the blind, I think that helped me out tremendously because, like you said, spending some time in that world gives you an appreciation for it, and a respect for those people that don't have any sight at all and how they manage in the world. I had a buddy that went to that school. His name was Billy, and he was the most upbeat, happiest, just love life guy I had ever met. Couldn't see a thing. He only had light, sensitivity, or he could see shadow, but didn't get him down. He was full of life, and we would go to the mall, and he would pretend that he could see, and he would just walk straight down the hallway, running into people left and right. But he would just stare straight ahead. He wouldn't use his cane, on purpose. And I think that helped me as I got older. I thought, I need to be like Billy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what other people think. Just be happy in your own skin and with dealing with what you have. And like you said, not everybody gets there as easy as other people. But as long as you recognize what you're going through and try and work through it, that's the most important thing.
Right, and I think for parents and people too, they being able to spot that and realize what's going on, and also I think say if you realize you're in the anger phase, then all of a sudden even though you still feel angry, at least now you're since you know why you're angry, you can start saying to people, I'm not angry with you, I'm angry because of this.
Right.
If you see what I mean, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So, I think I would suggest people kind of get to grips with that whole idea that we're all grieving in some way. And, there are some people say that sight loss is a lifelong bereavement.
Mm.
And so,
Yeah, I could understand that.
yeah. But on the other hand, though, there was lots of practical jokes. And, because you're in camp, then of course you have to behave like a teenager. So
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask, are you going to quit your job and move back and become a counselor and stay there forever?
No, absolutely not. But yes, I did. One evening, did find a snake in my bed, a plastic snake,
Oh,
thankfully, but
that's
not a real one. And they tried to play pranks and stuff. And one of the highlights was a bunch of us getting together and just playing cards and talking trash for the afternoon. It was 100 degrees, so we hid from the sun by going into a cabin and playing cards. And that was one of the highlights.
That's great. What card game did you play?
We played golf.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it was the because you didn't have to hide your cards.
Mm.
Then it meant that those of us who either couldn't or were not terribly great with the braille could could help each other out.
Oh, okay. Well, it sounds like you had a great time. If somebody was interested, do you any ideas what the best way for them to look into it, going to camp?
Um, I think probably if you get in touch with your local one of the National Blind Association
Mm-hmm.
affiliates, so like ACB or the NFB or one of those groups.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the other alternative might be to get a hold of your local blind school or vision services. They may not necessarily have a camp like that, but they will have other residential courses available as well. So, in terms of your basic, learn to do things like a blind person kind of courses.
All right.
So, I think I think those are probably the places I would start.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's great. Well, my camera just shut off, so I think that now everybody is only looking at you. So I think that's a perfect place to end the interview. Hopefully, they can still hear me. But well, thank you very much, Robert, for taking some time out to tell us all about your experience.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah, it sounds fun. I would love to do it. But I think I would want to stay. I'd want to be the Peter Pan and just never grow up and stay forever.
Or there were lots of people like that.
Yeah, except the heat. That doesn't sound good. I don't like heat. So
It was really hot this last week.
yeah.
We had 2 or 3 days of 100-degree weather,
No, thank you.
which that wasn't pleasant.
Right. Well, guys, once again, thank you, Robert. If you guys have any more questions for him or me, we're on the Facebook page. There's links down in the description where you can find those. I'm sure he'd be happy to answer any questions.
I would.
Yeah. Great. All right. Well, thanks, Robert. I will talk to you soon. And thank you guys for watching and listening now. So this is Sam and Robert with The Blind Spot. We will talk to you later.